But there were always blacks who fought against segregation. Many ministers preached equality, and black unions and organizations like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People worked for it for decades through speeches, demonstrations, and court cases.
All-American News brings you our people's contribution to America and freedom.
World War II had an enormous impact on black hopes for change. Black Americans fought and died in a segregated U.S. Army, but they saw a larger, unsegregated world. They saw their own power as they fought and as some were trained as officers and specialists. And they came back with a new sense of themselves.
I spent 3 years overseas in New Guinea, and I became an officer during that period. I had been eager to exercise authority. So when we got out, it was just one more step to say, well, look, we aren't going to take this anymore.
The South they came back to was determined to resist change, and most of the nation was not ready to hear black demands for justice. Then, in the early 1950s, after years of carefully planned litigation, the NAACP brought these demands to the Supreme Court. The test cases were set in schools. On May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously in Brown versus Board of Education that segregated schools were unconstitutional. It called into question the whole system of segregation.
It was quite a shock to Southerners to be told that the way they had been running their affairs for many, many years were no longer acceptable to the nation as a whole. And a great many of the older crowd of white Southerners felt that they came of an ancestry that were founders of the Republic, and they knew the Constitution and customs and laws of the country as well as anybody else.
The South resisted desegregation with legal and illegal delays. It would take years before the Supreme Court's decision would be implemented in any meaningful way, but it had one immediate effect.
I think that the greatest impact of the Brown decision was on the black community itself. It was a statement to the black community that they had a friend, so to speak, the Supreme Court. And so it emboldened the communities of blacks around the country to move forward, to secure their own rights.
The change began slowly, especially in rural areas. Blacks knew they could still lose their livelihood or their lives if they pushed whites too fast. But step by step, the change began, first with small acts of personal courage. In September 1955, an old man named Mose Wright took that remarkable first step. His story starts at the Tallahatchie River in Money, Mississippi. Here, the body of Mose Wright's nephew, Emmett Till, was found, way down in the waters. Two local men were arrested and charged with the murder. They were white. Emmett Till was black.